The Kingdom of My Divine Will in the Midst of Creatures, Book of Heaven, Volume 35, Part 7. November 20th, 1937. Continuing with the same topic, how the divine will makes love arise in such a way that everywhere and in every place it feels loved by the creature. Wherever the divine will is, God finds the adaptable material to make divine life be conceived, be born, and grow. My poor mind continues to swim in the sea of the divine volition. Its surprises are such and so many. Its yearning, for it wants to live life in the creature, and the length of its speaking about it, is such that it is impossible for me to say everything. And my beloved Jesus, visiting my little soul with unspeakable love, told me, "My blessed daughter, speaking about my will is for me the greatest feast. Heaven unites with me to celebrate, and as they see me speak about my will, they all stand at attention to listen to me. There is no greater feast that I may give to the whole celestial court than to speak about my divine will. My will makes the operating love arise in the souls on earth, and the beatifying love in heaven. Where there's no love, I do not move, nor do I go there, and I don't know what to do with the creature, while the love that my will makes arise is immense, and there is no place in which one who lives in it cannot be found, all invested and as though jammed with my love. She has undergone our same lot, for we love everywhere and in every place. We love all and always. So we feel that she loves us in the hearts of all. Her love runs everywhere, and she loves us in the sun, in the heavens, in the twinkling of the stars, in the moans of the wind, in the murmuring of the sea, in the darting of the fish, in the singing of the little bird. We feel that she loves us also in the hearts of the angels and the saints, and even inside our divine bosom. All say to her, "May you be welcome. Oh, how we awaited you! Come and take your place of honor. Come and love our Creator within us." My will holds her jealously tight to itself, and inundating her with ever new love, it lets her do love chants, sing songs of love, sweet enchantments of love, wounds of love. It seems to be saying, "I found one who loves me, and I want to enjoy her. I would not feel happy if she did not tell me always and everywhere, 'I love you, I love you.'" Hence the soul who lives in our will be our triumph, our victory, the depository of our love, our continuous glory. My love feels the need of the company of this creature, to pour itself out, and to have her love. Therefore, I want to breathe together with her, palpitate and operate with her. Union can produce joys more beautiful, ineffable contentments, greater works, love more intense. Now, my will give so much love to this creature who lives in it, as to be able to inundate the whole creation. It will stretch out a new heaven of love upon all human generations, in such a way as to feel embraced and loved by the love of this creature, which was given by my will itself, everywhere, in each one and in every place. And while this creature embraces and loves my will, she will say to it, "Come, O supreme volition, to reign upon earth, invest all generations, win and conquer all." Don't you see how beautiful it is to live in it? To have its love in your power, which contains such power and virtue that no one will be able to resist it. And when this love will have invested everything and everyone, since it is the love of a creature who has lived in our Fiat, which carries with her the bond of the human family, we will let ourselves be conquered. We will tear down all the obstacles, and will have our kingdom on the face of the earth. Therefore, pray and make use of all things, in order to ask me for my will to come to reign on earth, as it does in heaven." Then I continued to be inundated by the divine Fiat, which was pouring on me light and love. Light, to make itself known more. Love, to make itself loved. And my sweet Jesus, coming back, added, "My daughter, how beautiful it is to live in my will! We cannot be without this creature. We keep thinking of new surprises to make for her, something new to give her, new things to tell her, so that she may get to know more about our Fiat. And according to her knowledge of it, so can we keep expanding the sea of our love within her. Knowledge is the little bell, which, as it rings, calls our power, sanctity, goodness, and love, with sweetest sound, to be enclosed within the creature who lives in my will, to let us operate our unheard of prodigies. Now, you must know that when we find our will in the creature, we feel beatified, and we take such delight in looking at her, that in order to enjoy her even more, we look at her mind, and we make our intelligence be conceived, be born, and grow. We look at her mouth, and we make our word be conceived, be born, and grow, so that she will speak of our Supreme Being with such eloquence and grace as to enamor of us whomever has the good of listening to her. We look at her will, and we make our own be reborn and grow to new life. We look at her heart, and we make our love, its harmonies and its stratagems, be conceived in it, to make us win in having her be reborn always in our love. We look at her hands and feet, and we make our works and steps be conceived, be born, and grow. We could do this all at once, but we don't. in order to take more time in being with her and enjoying her more. Our love is so great that with our own creative hands do we want to form our very life in the creature. All that we are, we want to give to her. Our love is not satisfied if we do not repeat our life in her. And we find the adaptable material only when we find our will, which has prepared, purified, and embellished the ground for us. And while we form our life, we sing victory and glory to our divine being. And what does she do? She gives us the food to be nourished and to grow within her. She gives us the water to quench our thirst, her own being to clothe us, her soul as our room, her heart as bed for rest, and all her acts to keep us amused and surrounded by our own celestial joys. But who can tell you, my daughter, what we can do and give to one who lives in our will? We give everything and do everything, and she gives us all. Fiat. November 29th, 1937. Our pains, united with the pains of Jesus, form his life within us, and there is no good which does not come from them. How lack of love martyrs the divine love. My poor mind swims in the sea of the divine volition. Even more, I feel that it breathes. It palpitates in me, and more than blood circulates inside the veins of my soul, saying to me, I am here, inside and outside of you. More than your own life, I run within each of your acts, and with my love, I make everything easy for you, and I make you happy too. In the meantime, he was showing me all the pains that I had suffered, invested with light, holding them tightly close to his bosom as conquests of his will. I remained concerned, and my always lovable Jesus, visiting me, told me, my little daughter of my divine will, you must know that all the pains which my most holy humanity suffered on earth, each tear I shed, every drop of my blood, each step and motion, and even my breath, were and are invested by one single voice, with which they speak and cry out continuously. We want the kingdom of the divine will reigning and dominating in the midst of creatures. We want our divine rights to be placed in force. And they pray, speak, and moan around our supreme throne, without ever ceasing, that the will of heaven and of the earth may be one. Now, whoever unites with my pains, with my heartbeats, breaths, steps, and works, prays, speaks, and moans together with all that I did and suffered upon earth. There is no good which does not arise from my pains, and united with those of the creature, mine form the depository, the hosts, in order to receive her pains, forming one single prayer together, one single voice, one single will. Even more, My pains carry the pains of the creature, and everything she does, before our Majesty, in order to make her want and do what I did, while the pains of the creature capture my pains onto the earth, to envelop all creatures in my pains and in hers, and dispose them to receive the life of my divine will. The union with me, of her pains with my pains, produces the great prodigy of my life in the creature, who comes to operate, speak, and suffer as if I were again living on earth. And I animate the whole of her being with the power of my acts. Even in her little trifles does my love flow, so that all may be mine, animated by my creative power. And she may give me the love and the glory of my very life. Do you think that my will has not taken into account all that you have suffered? Not at all. My will preserves within its womb of light all of your pains, small and great, your distressed and sorrowful sighs, your privations. Even more, it has used them as material to be able to conceive, deliver, and raise its life. Each pain of yours was a growth it had, nourishing them with its sanctity, filling them with the ardor of its love, embellishing them with its unreachable beauty. My daughter, how much you must thank me for all that I have disposed for you, and for all that I made you suffer, because everything has served to form my life in you, and for the triumph of my will. What fortune for the creature to see that her pains have served my life so wholly, which will have as fulfillment my divine will palpitating in her. Do you think it is trivial that the Creator shows his need for the creature? He, who is omnipotent and gives life to all? Is this not the greatest excess of our love? Jesus remained silent, and I remained there thinking of what he had just told me. And I saw all my pains lined up within me, spreading rays of light, being transformed into the pains of Jesus, forming the divine support and the defense of creatures, and forming constant voices and moans that were asking for the divine will to come to reign. Then he continued, "My good daughter, our love is so great that everywhere and in every place, even upon the littlest blade of grass, in the air that the creature breathes, in the water she drinks, even underneath her steps as she treads the ground, we send our voices, our passionate cry of love. I love you. I love you. I love you." But our love gives itself no peace if it does not feel listened to by the creature, and does not hear her repeat, "I love you. I love you." And in our delirium of love and sorrow we say, "Oh, is nobody listening to us? Oh, no one repeats for us, 'I love you, I love you.' Why then say, 'I love you, I love you'?" if no one returns it to us? To whom are we saying, I love you? To the air? To the wind? To the empty space? Our I love you finds no one to whom to go, no place on which to lean, if it does not find the I love you of the creature, who receives it in order to requite it with her own, so that her love may find refuge inside our immense love, to lean on it and be expanded more and more. When the creature listens to our I love you and requites it, in our emphasis of love, and as though appeased by her love, we say, indeed, we have been heard. Our love has found someone to whom to go, a place in which to take refuge. We have been recognized, because we have found one who says, I love you. Then our love makes feast. But when we do not find anyone who says to us, I love you, we find no one who recognizes us, nor anyone who listens to us or loves us. How hard it is to love and not to be loved. How I wish that all knew that with my love I sustain them. I embrace them. I love them and I make them breathe. I love them and I give them a heartbeat. I love them and I give them speech. I love them and I give them the step. I love them and I give them motion, thinking, food, water. All that they are and receive is the effect of my love that runs. Hence, isn't not loving me a horrendous ingratitude? It is to martyr our love, because we love, and we are not loved. After this, I was thinking to myself, but how can the creature know when our Lord tells her his repeated and continuous I love yous, so as to requite them with her own? And my sweet Jesus added, my daughter, and yet it is easy to know it, if the creature possesses my divine will as her own life, because my will gives her its divine hearing, which makes her listen when her Creator tells her, I love you. And not only the hearing, but also its divine speech, so that the hearing listens, and the speech says, I love you. Or rather, even before he says to her, I love you, she already perceives that she is about to receive the I love you of her God, and she makes her I love you meet the divine I love you, almost so as to engage in a contest with her Creator. My will wants to give everything to the creature who lives in it. It gives her its arms with which to embrace it, and its steps in order to run after it. Just as we feel our divine nature to be all love, and the need to love, so much so that if it were possible to prevent us from loving, we would suffocate. The breath of our divine life as though being choked, because in us our breath, our motion, and our very will is love, and it is impossible for us not to love. In the same way, one who possesses our will feels the need to love us and to love us always. Therefore, my will alone can put order between the Creator and the creature, keeping her constantly aware of our love, of our sanctity, and placing her in communication with our Supreme Being. Fiat. December 6, 1937. As the creature operates in the divine volition, so does Jesus ring his little bell to call the inhabitants of heaven and those of the earth. How the company of the creature is so needed by divine love. I feel the life of the divine volition within me, overflowing with love, which, as it moves, pours out seas of love, and investing all, says to every heart, "Oh, please, look at me, know me, receive me into your hearts. Give me dominion. I come loaded with all my goods, in order to live together with you. But alas, I am not recognized. Or worse, they reject me. And since I am not known, my supreme laws of love are not in force for them. My goods remain with me, and I am not able to give them to my children." Then I was following the acts of the divine will, and as I arrived at the blue vault studded with stars, I called with me the inhabitants of heaven and the inhabitants of the earth, so that altogether we might requite with our little love the infinite love of God, who with so much love had created the expanse of the heavens, to as though cover us and hide us within his love. Therefore all of us, with no exception, have the duty to love he who loved us so much. Now, as I was doing this, my highest good, Jesus, visiting my little soul, all love told me, "My blessed daughter, if you knew with what love I was waiting for you to call everyone, so as to feel within your act the requital of the love of all. As soon as you began to call, so do I ring the little bell to the celestial residents and to those of the earth. And I stop ringing only when I see that all of them have run into your act. The first ones are the celestial residents, who, living in my will, cannot put themselves aside, nor do they want to. They feel the unifying divine will that unites them in that act. Even more, they anxiously await your call to be able to requite me in love. And since the one who is calling them is a creature from the earth, who possesses her own free will, in her they feel that they can give me new love. And oh, how they rejoice at the sound of my little bell! And they fly to place themselves inside that act of the creature who wants to love me. As for the inhabitants of the earth, because they do not live completely in my will, they can just barely hear the vibrating sound of my little bell. When I see them all together in that act, our divinity stands at attention in loving anticipation. And oh, how beautiful it is to hear in that act innumerable voices saying to us, "We love you, we love you, we recognize you in your works. How much you have loved us. On behalf of all, we want to requite you in love." Our Supreme Being, wounded by so many voices, unleashes more seas of love. covering and investing everyone with such joys and happinesses that all remain enraptured, enjoying one more paradise by means of that creature. The one who lives in our will gives us the field for new works, and makes our love gush out more strongly, and unable to contain it, we pour out new seas of love, to love the creature and to be loved. Oh, how much we love her! You must know that the thing most needed by our Supreme Being is the company of the creature. We do not want to be the isolated God, or to keep her far away from us. Isolation has never been bearer of great works or of happiness, while company matures the birth of a good, and makes the most beautiful works come to light. This is why we created so many things, to have the occasion of having her company many times for as many things as we created. And since what we did once we remain always in act of doing, the one who lives in our will stays always in our company. She undergoes our creative act, and we receive the glory and the requital of the created love. Therefore, we have her company in the celestial spheres, in the resplendent sun, in the blowing of the wind, in the air that all breathe, in the murmuring of the sea. Everywhere and in every place, she follows us, she defends us, and she requites us in love. She cannot live without us, without loving us, and we cannot be without her. And jealous, we hold her tightly to our divine bosom. Then he added, the company of the creature is so dear to us that we form with her our recreation. We make the most important decisions for our glory and for the good of the human generations. We accomplish our designs. While we are in her company, our love rises to new life and keeps inventing new devices of love and new surprises in order to bind the creatures to love us more and more. If it wasn't for her company, with whom could we pour ourselves out? Over whom to form our designs? Where to place our love that always rises? Hence, without company, our goods would be constrained, without being able to give life to what we want to do for love of the creatures. See, then, how necessary her company is to our love, to our works, and to the fulfillment of our will. Fiat. You have reached the end of the Book of Heaven, Volume 35, Part 7. Fiat.